I'm learning about society today is that we're all so overly stimulated. There's just too much out there. And I can say it's cool to see people, wanting to fall into faith and look for God. Because through my experience, I can say that I had to get sober. Like, I got sober and, like, I had a God moment, but I grew up Catholic, so I didn't like Catholicism. I always felt like that judgment from the other people there. I'm like, why do I even come to this place, I got baptized at 12, I left. I started drinking at 12. And at 14, I caught myself in a super, super dark place. And I was drinking. I remember I was smoking a cigarette. And yeah, I don't know. It was tough. Like, I wanted to better myself. That spirit within me was willing to seek something greater than myself, which is God, Jesus Christ. He's my Savior, right? I believe that. I believe that God is real. As for that, I look for Him. But the moral of the story is that, like, I don't know, man. I remember just being in that dark place, and I remember starting to go to church. And I started going to church, and I remember I had that week where I felt that peace. And that peace just wasn't enough. Because I was constantly in the chase of something. A chase. What was I even chasing, Just wanted to experience life and enjoy life. But sometimes life, it's not even about partying, because, like, what I pictured or what I imagined enjoying life at that time in my life was, like, partying or whatever I saw on TV or, like, whatever everybody else around me made seem fun. So I seek that. But coming to the realization of the fact that that was not even fun, but I still chased it after having that moment of peace. And I went in the run for another 6 years, still seeking validation, still escaping my reality, which I'm here to tell you there was nothing to escape. There was just more to accept. I ended up in rehab at 18, and that gave me a different perspective in life. I got hit in the back of the head, and it was bad. I almost died. I was unconscious for like 6 hours. And then one thing that I learned through my journey in my youth was finding passion towards something. Like, I started fishing again at 17. I grew up fishing with my dad and my uncles. And that was cool, man. I wish I could go back to those days and enjoy that all over again. But one of my good friends at the time when I was in high school was like, yo, let's go fishing. We went fishing, and damn, I found my passion again. I'm like, bro, it's been so long. But I was constantly chasing the wrong things, like women or like alcohol, whatever it may be. Things that I thought brought pleasure into my life, but it was nothing but temporary pleasure, temporary validation. It didn't mean anything. And so, yeah, I found fishing, and then 2016 is when I found myself just fishing all the time. Because that was my passion, that was my desire to just, like, be out and about fishing. And it was such a cool experience, A part of me right now in this moment is like, I wish I could go back to that and just fish all the time. Screw responsibility, like, just fish. And really embrace that inner child in me, And I remember getting sober at that time too. I would go to, like, meetings and stuff, but it wasn't really my priority. I would always try to, like, throw, like, spirituality in the back burner, and because I was constantly looking for that excitement. And I'm here to tell you that life is not about constantly looking for excitement. Life is also about sitting in the boring and embracing the boring, because in the boring you're also growing so much, But what an interesting time in life. I remember being super anxious and, like, having, like, $500 in my bank account, or, like, spending all my money on fishing gear and being left with, like, $10 and just being okay with it, but even still being, like, full of anxiety. But knowing that I was gonna eventually figure it out. And it always figures itself out, Even if it doesn't, God has a plan greater than our own understanding. it's crazy how life works, right? And today, like, I'm here and I'm just trying to be more, more grateful, more present. I've been sober for 7 years, and I wouldn't want it any other way. But before I got sober, what really helped me getting sober was the gym. I had this analogy of like wanting to take steroids, and I'm grateful that I never did. Because I learned about myself, and society today tries to teach you that it's a mental game. Yeah, it's mental. You gotta toughen up mentally for sure. But one thing that I've learned in the past like 2-3 years is like growing spiritually. And through my journey of creating content, I definitely look more for God today because I don't know better. And honestly, I don't want to know better. I will never be more than God. I will never be more than God, and that's okay. This past week, I tried to just practice faith as much as possible. And I had moments of peace, and then I had moments of like that self-hatred towards myself because I'm so used to on that goal, like being on that goal mentality. And it sucks, but hey, listen. The purpose behind this video is that I'm not perfect. I don't thrive to be perfect. I don't care to be perfect. Life is just a beautiful journey, and I try to just enjoy it and embrace it. So, don't worry about the destination. Don't worry about anything. Just enjoy the journey, and the world is yours.